Hi, everyone. This is the Leaving Footprints podcast. Today is our first episode. So, we know how it's like to be a student and a job seeker and how crazy networking can get, and basically how tough it is to find answers to career related questions from actual professionals, not necessarily just Google, especially with this pandemic going on.
Yeah, so with this podcast, we're hoping to create a platform where people can go to get insights on various types of fields and from actual people who work in them. So you're going to be learning about their career paths, the challenges they have faced, and the insights on success in their fields.
In this first episode, we just want to introduce ourselves and try to help you get to know us better and just talk about our journey so far.
So, hi, I'm Mira. I was born and raised here in California, and I'm the youngest of three in my family. I've had a lot of support from my sisters to get to where I am today. I graduated from UC Davis in 2018 as a first generation student and my family's first statistician and economist by degree. So I decided to pursue my master's in analytics a couple of years later and will be my first in the family to follow the path into becoming a data scientist.
Hi, I'm Ankit. I recently graduated from UC Irvine in June 2020, and I loved it so much that I went back there for grad school. Fun fact is that I was a child actor in India till the age of 5, after which I moved to this beautiful city of Dubai. I came to the US as an international student, and it's been a journey just blending into the US culture. It's super different from where I was born and brought up. I love Bollywood music and dancing, and I was also the captain of my Bollywood dance team, UCI Zamana, in my senior year of college.
So actually, me and Ankit are both in the Masters in Business Analytics program at UCI, and we have actually never met, but we decided to do this podcast together. We usually study together and work really well together, so we thought it would be awesome to provide this kind of outlet for other people.
We kind of just want to have a very casual conversation with our guests and each other and kind of just encourage people to learn more about different career paths. We're going to have a variety of guests throughout our podcast. So let's get started to get to know each other first. I think both of us haven't really had a very traditional path reaching to choosing data science as a career at this point. We changed the majors a lot. I think Mira can start talking about that first.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I think I felt like it was expected for me to go into like biological sciences. So I actually went to UC Davis as a biotech major, which is UC Davis is like one of the top 10 colleges for that major. So I was really proud of myself for getting in. But then as I started taking classes, I realized, okay, I don't want to do this. Like I don't want to be in a lab.
Right.
I don't want to do all this kind of stuff. It was really interesting, like don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was what I wanted to do. So then I started thinking about, other majors that I could understand and like and find success in. And so originally I was thinking economics because that was the closest thing to business they had at UC
Okay.
Davis. Um, I followed a lot of business activities in high school. Like I was in DECA where we did a lot of business related things.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought I would go into business. So then I thought, okay, let's do managerial economics. It's closest to business at Davis.
Right.
And then I thought, okay, this isn't as challenging as I would like for it to be. So then I decided to get into statistics. Um, I had never taken a statistics class in my life before deciding, okay, let's pursue a career in this. And I actually ended up really liking it and I like fell in love with it. I realized that, okay, well, this is something I'm good at. So I'm just going to stick with it and follow through and see what I can do after I graduate. So that was a little bit about how I changed my major and found something I really liked.
So before you said that you never took a statistics class before. I think what kind of like attracted you to take that class in the first place, which kind of made you change that major?
So I think at the time, analytics and data science, I mean, it's like still up and coming, right? And so
Mhm.
I realized that maybe that's something I want to look into because I did really like math,
Okay.
but I didn't want to pursue a career in math just because I don't think I was interested in doing that. So then I thought, let me just take a stats class and see what happens. And I actually, something just clicked and I was like, okay, I really like statistics. And
Right.
then I took some upper division classes and I just fell in love. it, like, I don't know, it's crazy how you can just do all this kind of crazy stuff with just a couple of numbers. And
Right,
I just think that's awesome. And then, like, coincidentally, data science and analytics is becoming so much bigger now. So
right.
I'm very happy to have switched because I can, go into that now.
I agree. I think so. Like as Mira also said, she changed her majors a couple of times. I also changed my majors a couple of times. So I came into UCI as an electrical engineering major. But before even that, when I was applying to colleges, I actually applied for two different majors in different colleges. Mainly because so I applied to architecture and electrical engineering. So my growing up in Dubai, I kind of saw a lot of buildings. Just Dubai just became from a very small, like very underdeveloped city to a very developed city and like a very touristy spot at this point,
Mhm,
especially with the Burj Khalifa, Burj Al Arab, etc.
mhm,
So kind of just seeing those buildings build up, architecture is something which super like intrigued me at the time. And then even with like electrical engineering, my dad was an engineer, and there's a lot of engineers in my family, from my dad's
mhm,
side especially. And I actually always loved math and science, so I think that also attracted me. So I was really confused as to what I should pursue. And a lot of this colleges which I was applying to didn't have the architecture major.
mhm,
So I decided to apply to both of them and just kind of see where it goes. I got into colleges for both the majors, but then I kind of shortlisted Virginia Tech and Cal Poly Slow for my architecture major, and then
mhm,
UC Davis and UC Irvine for electrical engineering.
mhm,
Then I had the opportunity to visit these campuses before deciding which college to go to. After because my board exams were done in like around early March, and then I had the full March and April to essentially decide where I was going. So after I visited the campuses and kind of saw the curriculum for the different majors itself, I think the architecture one I didn't really see myself pursuing it in the future, which I'm really happy about because knowing what I am pursuing at the moment, I'm really definitely happy with what I'm doing.
mhm,
When I did go into electrical engineering at UCI, I did enjoy all the physics classes, chemistry classes, because that's something which I did during school as well.
mhm,
But I didn't think I would be able to pursue it in the future. So I took one economics class even in my high school, and then I took one even in like my undergraduate, and that was super interesting to me. So I decided to research more majors associated with that, and then I found about the major business information management, and I also found out about informatics, the major. So I kind of searched more about them and how they kind of relate to the trends in business and stuff. So I was super interested in that case, and then I think that's how I ended up in my current two majors, and then ended up doing the masters now.
Wow, I was just gonna say how it would have been crazy if you went to UC Davis too.
Yeah, it would be super different. I think UC Davis campus was super beautiful, but I think a lot of factors kind of influenced my decision. Like I had a lot of family over here as compared to like UC Davis. I don't really know anyone in the area, and in Southern California, I at least had like some of my relatives over here. So and my dad's college roommate as well. So that's helped a
Oh,
lot.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. I was choosing between San Diego and Davis, and my sisters both went to UC Davis. So I was like, okay, I know the campus, so I'm gonna go here.
Mhm.
It was a really pretty campus. So yeah.
Agreed.
Um,
So I think one another thing which we can talk about is like why we even decided to pursue a master's in the first place. Do you want to start over with that?
Yeah, I can start with that. So after I graduated from Davis, I was working at Walmart.com, and it was more like a business centered role. But I realized I kind of want to do something more technical and exploring data on my own rather than being given metrics and information. I wanted to be the person making the metrics and telling
Right.
people what it is. So then, I was thinking back to my undergrad career, and I learned so many good things that to do with how to deal with data, but I never got to implement it. And additionally, like I never did coding or anything besides a little bit of R. So I thought, okay, I think the best place for me to go would be to school because I usually thrive when I'm in class
Right.
versus learning on my own. So then I started applying to master's programs for analytics and statistics, and I decided to just go for analytics. Um, but yeah, I really wanted to bridge that gap where it's like I know I have this knowledge from my stats career, but I don't know how to implement it to real life and like real life data sets and doing projects and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And the program has definitely helped. So I'm really happy I decided to go that way. But what about you?
I think definitely I agree with you that the fact that the program is teaching you a lot. I kind of did the machine learning basics and stuff when I was in undergrad, but we definitely went into more in-depth detail about it with the program.
Mhm.
As to why I decided to do a master's, so I graduated in the middle of the pandemic in last
Mhm.
June. So I think that the pandemic has been a huge, I would say, a deciding factor for it. The job market, I mean, definitely struggled with the pandemic happening, especially with like the graduating class of 2020, and especially with the current 2021 class
Yeah.
of graduate. So it was the job market was not really the best for us. But I also my before I think the pandemic had started, I was applying to jobs as well as applying to grad school at the same time. And then I think once the pandemic started, I realized that I think going for a degree, another degree, would be the best option for me.
Mhm.
That's why I decided to go for the master's degree at this point.
Nice. Good decision.
Now you said that your sisters have been a huge influence in your life. Can you talk more about that? And I think it's like why they've been such a huge influence for you.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so we were all first generation students, and my
Hmm.
parents, they did not go to college. So after they immigrated here and they had my sisters, we kind of were left on our own to figure out what to do with
Okay.
school, with college, with careers. Um, Generally, like as Indian women, we're not really expected to do much with our education. There's a whole background story about that.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of figure out from step one, okay, like, are we even able to do this? And like, what should we do? Because we've never seen any woman in our family pursuing a degree on higher education,
Right.
etc. So my sisters basically, they worked really hard to pave that path, and I was able to follow their path
Okay.
into like going to college, expecting more for myself, getting a higher degree. And they were always supportive even when I just didn't know what I was doing with my life. They always checked in when I was changing majors. My sisters really tried to help me figure out what to do. And like my middle sister, she knows a little bit more about like the field, and so she kind of also pushed me a little bit more towards like statistics and analytics because it would be useful in the future.
Hmm.
So they've always just provided support for me, trying to figure out my way in life. So yeah, yeah.
I think that's super like that's really good that you had such a guiding like source for you.
Hmm.
I think for me similarly, I had my parents. So both
Hmm.
I'm not a first generation student because both my parents did go to college. My
Hmm.
dad went for engineering in Gwalior in India, and my mom went to like a local college in Saharanpur where she's from.
Hmm.
So I think my parents have been a huge guiding source, especially my dad. So my dad is someone who like he always helps me kind of learn what the career is.
Hmm.
um, he kind of researched it even more than I did
Hmm.
at the time because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I kind of was intrigued by something. I should tell him, okay, I'm interested in this. But he
Hmm.
kind of helped me understand what my options were and kind of even when I was applying to grad school at this point, he had made a list of 10 colleges for me, which he thought were the best for me. I actually ended up applying to most of them at this point.
Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah, so like my dad has been super involved in just like my career decisions and everything, and he still is. And I think that's a huge influence and a really positive influence at that such.
Hmm.
And even my mom's like been super supportive. So my mom initially was a homemaker when I was in Dubai.
Hmm.
But then after I did finish, like when I finished high school and went to US, she started doing a yoga course, training course.
Hmm.
She became a yoga instructor at this point.
That's so
So
cool.
they've both been like super I think hardworking, and that's kind of like what I've tried to adapt in my work ethic as well. And I
Hmm.
think that's been super useful. And also my cousin, so I don't have any siblings,
Hmm.
but my cousin sister, her name is Akriti. She's been super like vital in my life because she's kind of helped me understand just where like how to deal with the career. So she's going in a career based on marketing and kind of the advertising aspect of it,
Hmm.
how she kind of navigated through it, uh, especially in being in India and kind of all the competitive nature over there, which is completely different from
Hmm.
what's here in the US. So I think that helped me a lot too.
That's awesome. And I remember I took your mom's yoga class. It was awesome. It was like a really good session.
I'm
But do
hoping
you,
she can take more like international ones too again.
yeah, that was really fun. But I was going to ask you, you were talking about the environments are different in India versus here. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I mean, when I was in Dubai, I studied in a school. called the Indian High School.
Mhm.
It was an Indian curriculum, CBSE, like the curriculum of Delhi board. So the environment definitely compared to like the US is very different.
Mhm.
Over there is unsaid pressure, which academic pressure, which is not really put on by like the students or your like the teachers or anyone. It's just like there on you.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm studying over there, I'm actually like worried more about like getting the marks as opposed to kind of learning what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
Now, when I came to the US, I think something which is super refreshing for me was that I actually felt like I was learning for myself as opposed
Mhm.
to doing it for like getting a mark as such. And that's kind of stayed with me throughout my undergraduate experience. One thing which was definitely different was, I think, is like the pressure itself. Like I wasn't really that like during college, I wasn't really that stressed as compared to when I was with undergrad, like sorry, with high school.
Mhm.
When with high school, with the board exams, I used to stay up till like 5:30 studying, sleep for like 1 hour, and then go for my board exam.
Mhm.
But now like I've kind of realized just kind of taking care of myself more and kind of just doing things which I like, as well as
Mhm.
kind of doing the studying part of it, and I have been pretty like successful in that, so I'm really happy about the path which I've taken. One thing which I would want to improve is that like kind of just continuing to do what I did earlier.
Mhm.
My I was really fortunate that my parents put me in dance classes and different like extracurriculars, which kind of like took my mind off
Mhm.
studying all the time. And even with like Zamana, when I was in the team, our practices used to go from like 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., especially
Mhm.
during the winter quarter. And the thing is, like at that time, it was definitely like something which I was like, it was a big stress reliever for me, just because we used to go there and I used to just do something which I enjoy, which is dancing.
Mhm.
Did you have anything like that during the undergrad?
Oh my God. So during undergrad, I was so bad. All I did was school. Like, I got really good grades, and the reason is because that's all I did.
Hmm.
So coming to grad school, I was thinking to myself, like, I can't do that again. Like, I have to take care of myself. I have to figure out things that I like to do and do those, because it's not a fun way of living when all you think about is school.
Right.
So in undergrad, I didn't do much fun stuff. Like, I hung out with my friends, but we hung out in the library. So that's like not, that's not a way to live. But definitely for grad school, I've been putting more effort in taking care of myself, like physically, especially because I do have like a workout routine that I try to
Mhm.
do every day, and that helps me kind of just take a step back from school and remember that, oh, there's more to life than just school.
Agreed.
And it's the pandemic, so it kind of sucks. I was hoping to explore a little more around here, but
Right.
even with just that, like even driving around, seeing the place, even just doing those things isn't something I would do in undergrad, because I would feel like, okay, well, 20 minutes of my life have just been wasted. I could have been studying. But now I don't think that way, because that's not healthy. Like, you should enjoy your life and do well in school, and balance, like have a balance. And I'm learning that more now than undergrad. But it's really nice to hear that you found like that outlet to join your dance team and do that. That's really good.
I think that with the pandemic and stuff, my dance team is something which I'm definitely missing a lot.
Mhm.
But I think even with the pandemic, like I've been trying to keep up with different clubs, and I think a grad school was a different experience. Like grad school is a different experience from
Mhm.
undergrad for me, because in undergrad I was like almost the same age as everyone in my cohort, but now in my class. But now in grad school we have a variety of people from different
Yeah.
backgrounds, and initially I was super overwhelmed by the fact that I don't necessarily have the work experience,
Mhm.
because I mean, I went directly from like undergrad to grad, so I
Mhm.
only have internship experience and stuff, but I don't really have the experience of working in an actual office, full-time
Mhm.
jobs, not doing school at part-time. But I think as the program went on, I think I got more comfortable with that, because I saw that a lot of these people who have a lot of work experience, it's a little difficult for them to get back into the
Yeah.
way of being going back to school and kind of studying
Mhm.
with it. So it's kind of like a pros and con kind of thing.
Right.
And again, I will be applying to entry level jobs. I won't be applying to the same jobs which these seniors are going to apply at this point.
Mhm.
So
It
that's which definitely was overwhelming at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I was freaking out before starting the program because I knew there would be people older than me with more experience, and I felt a little bit of intimidation, just like, how do I even talk to them, you know?
Definitely agree.
But it's been so easy to talk to everyone. And like I forget sometimes that there's people of different age. Like me and you are a couple of years apart too, and I always forget that, like, because everybody's just so like friendly. I don't think it's the same with every grad program. Like I've heard some bad stories about other grad programs, so I'm really happy we're blessed with this cohort. So,
Yeah, our cohort is definitely pretty good. Like we have our Slack channel, which we kind of just talk about
mhm,
different things. And I think one of the main things which I really enjoy about the program so far is that I'm actually able to learn from you guys as well, because you guys have the work experience of actually applying it in daily life. So not daily life, in your work lives. And I think that's a different perspective which I would have never gotten in undergrad, because everyone was in the same like kind of experience as me. So that's been super, I think, useful for me.
yeah, I agree. It's nice to hear perspectives from people in different areas of their life.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, you said that like your parents kind of immigrated over here, and then you kind of grew up in the US. So,
mhm.
I think your experience might be a bit different from mine when I was in Dubai in a completely Indian environment. So, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I guess after hearing about your experience, I think about mine, and I just feel like I thought it was so competitive here, but it seemed obviously in other places of the world it's different. But I like in high school, okay, so first I'm gonna say in elementary school, I was not a very good student. I never
Mhm.
did my homework. I was not very smart. And then like going into middle school and high school, I realized, okay, I should probably start paying attention. So in high school, I did really well, and I was like top percent of my class and all that. So it was never like a question for me that like I always knew that I was gonna go to a good school and like do all that stuff. So I didn't feel the same pressure that you felt. I felt like, okay, I'm already on top of things. And I think that's something that a lot of people feel. And then they go to college and they're just like, oh no, I'm not on top of things. Like there's
Yeah,
people out here,
actually very true.
like there's people out here who are like already doing research and they're only freshmen. Like, so I think that was one thing in my freshman year. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect myself to not like my major.
Okay.
So at that point, things were changing where I'm just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I thought this is what I was going to do. And so I had to figure out after that, which I talked about a little earlier. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think that's an experience on its own, just because I feel like in general, what I knew about US high schools was from like these TV shows which I used to watch. Like I used to watch Disney Channel shows or the Nickelodeon shows and stuff. So I had this very romanticized view of
Mhm,
US in general. Like it's going to be like very, very different. I mean, in many ways it is similar, because there are like real people here kind of facing real life issues.
mhm,
Um, when I did like kind of start applying to jobs, and I did see like how the job market works, and it kind of just taught me more about like what I need to improve in myself to become a more capable candidate. I think
mhm.
that's what we want to do with the podcast. We kind of just want to get advice from different guests,
Yeah.
talk about what their experience was like in the job market and when they were looking for jobs. And I think not just like, because there are like a lot of underrepresented minorities in the
Mhm,
US, how kind of they struggle to get those jobs, being different, like from different races,
mhm.
because there is an issue of that in the US. So
Yeah.
we definitely want to talk to our guest about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that this got really deep all of a sudden.
I know, I know. It's gonna be really good. It's gonna be interesting learning about all these different people and how they got to where they are, and definitely talking about the challenges they've faced, especially because we'll have a more diverse set of people we'll be talking to. So,
Right. I think let's talk about so we spoke about the different environments we grew up in. Let's talk about something we like to do in our free time right now. So it's just like a more relaxed conversation after we just what we spoke about.
yeah. How about you go first?
I think, as I said, like I love to dance, but recently, especially due to the pandemic, my friends and I have started doing these like regular game
Mhm,
nights. We basically just do it every day. So I've actually started playing a lot of like games with them, like a lot of board games and kind of
mhm.
like word games. So I kind of like playing those. I also like to paint a lot. Uh,
Oh.
so I haven't done it in a while, but I love to paint and I love to sing, but I don't sing well. So
Oh.
yeah.
Are those your paintings in the back?
Yes, those are my paintings in the
They're
back.
really nice. I mean, this is a podcast, our listeners can't see, but they're very nice.
Thank you.
But I told you to go first because when people ask me about my hobbies, I never know what to say. That so I'm like, okay, let him talk and then I'll figure something out. But I've been working out a lot. I think, oh my God, like so at the beginning of the pandemic, me and my sister were going hard. Like I
Wow.
worked out like 3 times a day. I would burn like 900 calories every other day. It was great. So I've
Wow.
been very fit 2020. And I'm hoping to carry that over. Obviously, after school started, it's been less. Like I can't work out 3 times a day, but that's
Who's
one of the
definitely time
things.
consuming?
What was that?
Who's definitely time consuming?
Yeah. So that's the thing. I've been trying to keep up with working out at least like 30 minutes to an hour every day, and it's working out pretty well. And then I enjoy reading a lot of
Okay.
self-growth, like growth books about and like goal making. And I was reading this book last year called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a very
Uh,
popular book. I really enjoyed it. I want to like be better at talking to people and making connections. So I've been trying to read books about that.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I need to keep reading. I haven't been since school started, but that's something I enjoy doing also. And then my sister kind of made me like this, but she likes outdoors and nature and going on hikes, and she always like takes me along. So that's something I've learned to enjoy as well. So I want to explore more hikes and stuff out in SoCal, but I mean, I think NorCal hikes are a little better because there's like more, trees and water. The hikes here are a little bit more dead. No offense to anybody who likes the hikes here, but those are a couple of things I like to do.
So you said that you started working out in the pandemic. I think with once the pandemic started, is there something which you kind of just learned more about yourself and kind of just how you grew? Because the pandemic has been super tough, but it also
Yeah.
has brought a lot of positive things for a lot of us, and also
Hmm.
like a lot of negative things because, of course, with everything going on.
Hmm.
But it's been a lot of change, both positive and negative. So anything in yourself which you kind of want to talk about?
Yeah, so I have been working out like before the pandemic as well, but I think I just went more ham on it when it started because there's only so much that you can do. And I realized that I I'm kind of hard on myself. I think a lot of people do this when they're working out and they don't see results or they see results. And I kind of just learned that, I need to just chill. Like, if I don't see results, it doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm still working out. And especially after, like I mentioned, how I was working 3 times a day versus 1 time a day, I just have to learn to be more patient with myself because obviously, if I'm working 3 times a day, I'm going to see results fast.
Right.
But if I'm working out once a day, it's going to be slower. And like by results, I mean like I've been running.
Hmm.
So even just with running, I would work out and then I would run once a day, very often. So my time would improve. I would be running better. Like I wouldn't be gasping for air. But then when I started school, I was running less. So, just trying not to be as hard on myself and understanding the situation. And I think that's really important for the pandemic as well. People are more, it's easier to be hard on yourself than understand that, okay, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's okay if something
Agreed.
doesn't go right. Like that kind of thing.
I think for myself also it's pretty much the same, like pretty similar. Like I definitely realized I shouldn't be so hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one thing which I really definitely learned during the pandemic was being more self-sufficient. So
Mm-hmm.
before I think the pandemic started, I used to be super busy with my dance team, school, and everything. And I used to just like eat food at the dorm eatery,
Mm-hmm.
or I used to go out and just take a takeout or something.
Mm-hmm.
With the pandemic started, I kind of just learned more about cooking and just being more independent
Yeah.
and kind of being comfortable being alone. Because earlier it used to be like, okay, I need to be around people to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to start like my studying environment, like I used to thrive studying at Starbucks. There's a
Mm-hmm.
Starbucks on UCI campus. I used to sit there. I need to be around people but now I've just kind of gone more comfortable being on my own and kind of just studying, not necessarily studying, but like just being more comfortable being alone at times. And I think that's been super reflective for me. And I've spent a lot of time just kind of working on myself, on my mental health, and kind of doing more self-care, which has been super, I think, really helpful for me. So I think in terms of even preparing for grad school, I feel like a different person than I was in undergrad
Mm-hmm.
when I started grad school. So it's definitely something I'm really happy about this improvement.
That's really good. I'm glad you're taking better care of yourself and more self care. And it's interesting that you say you feel like a different person because I also feel like a different person. Definitely different than undergrad. Like undergrad was weird. It was a weird time.
Mhm.
And then like going into grad school, I was like, okay, I want to be my best self. And I definitely have been putting that forward. So I can relate to that.
So now, since you've talked about like about ourselves, let's talk about like kind of what we've been doing for our careers. So I can kind of start. So I think the fun thing which we're doing is kind of starting this podcast. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of wanted to start this podcast to get ourselves out there and kind of prepare ourselves for the world and talk to different professionals and kind of get advice from them.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought it'd be a really good idea to kind of share this advice with our listeners. Another thing which I've been working on is like I've been working on kind of improving my technical skills. So during my undergrad, I definitely worked on, I learned how to do Python,
Mm-hmm.
Java, but I wasn't really like that proficient in it. And during my grad school, I've definitely learned more about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked more on actually making the effort to learn about these different softwares and
Mm-hmm.
coding languages. And that's been really, I think, helpful for me. And I've also just, I think, developed a more stronger routine for myself as
Mm-hmm.
such, because I think keeping a strong routine, because in undergrad, especially the spring quarter when it was completely online, the last quarter before I graduated,
Mm-hmm.
um, I used to have I had a really bad sleep schedule. But now I've been making a conscious effort to keep a strong sleep schedule and just kind of take care of myself with grad school and kind of putting myself more out there, kind of reaching out to different recruiters and people, professionals in different fields. Now, even for the podcast, but also even for kind of just getting their experiences
Mm-hmm.
and learning about what they did and how they kind of applied. And networking is, I think, networking on LinkedIn is something which I definitely was a bit skeptical of and kind of
Mm-hmm.
intimidated by doing earlier, because I was like whether we'll actually get a response or not.
Yeah.
So I think that's been super, super useful for me. What about you?
Yeah, so I was gonna say it makes sense why it's so intimidating because it's basically like a cold call, but it's
Yeah.
online. But yeah, so I think the first thing for me was just getting into a different mindset, which I've been working on for the last couple of years, being like more goal oriented. Also, like, understanding what my goals are and how I can reach them and what I
Right.
need to do to get there. So, like, the biggest example is just going into data analytics and data science. That was my goal, and I decided, okay, well, in order for me to get there, I need to go to grad school and this and this. And so I use that for also for like networking and finding a career and just doing well in the program. So I started networking even before the program started because I realized, okay, if I want to work for this specific company or if I want to get into this field, I need to start now, like understanding what I need to do even in grad school, like the skills that I need to gain through this program to, find a job at the end of this
Right.
program.
Right.
So the first thing was just, getting a strong mindset going about being goal oriented and asking for help and, taking criticism and all those things. So I was gonna go somewhere with that, but that's the first thing that I started with. And then with like networking and stuff, yeah, I started doing like cold messages. I even reached out to Brittany from the program. I reached out to her before the program started, and she like, oh, my favorite thing about networking, besides learning from people and seeing how they got to their position, is also some people are just very nice. They, offer or refer you to other people. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I've been trying to work on, like how to uh, connect with somebody and connect with somebody after. And I think it's always really nice and telling of that person how kind they are if they are willing to refer you to somebody else.
I
But
completely agree. Yeah.
yeah, they're so nice. Like all the people I've talked to, they've been very nice to me, and I really appreciate it. They've shared so many insights with me. Actually, like I had a goal company in mind, and somebody that I was networking with, they told me, "Oh, maybe you should consider this company because they use more data." And so
Right.
I would have never knew that unless I talked to them. So that's like networking wise what I've been doing, and then like career wise, I'm just trying to figure out which type of data science or data analytics I would like to go into because there's so many different things you can do.
Yeah.
Everything is labeled differently, like how they always mention in the program. You could be a data scientist, but you could be called a data analyst. So
That's
just
true.
kind of working on figuring that out. And you mentioned being stronger like with coding. I did not know how to Python code before this, and I think I'm doing better at it. So just
Mhm.
practicing, trying to do my own projects and learning outside of the class, I think is really important too. So those kind of things.
Agreed. For context, Brittany is the career advisor for our program. So she's kind of just helping us kind of realize what paths we want to take. And she gives us a lot of feedback about like networking,
Mm.
the resume writing, cover letter writing, and just kind of negotiating and interviewing even. So I think that's the main thing which kind of Brittany helps us with.
Hmm.
I think we should be done by now
Yeah.
and start
Yeah.
wrapping. So, if you guys have any specific fields or guests which you'd like to talk us to, we can reach out to them for you, and we can probably have them on the podcast. Hopefully, um, you wanna continue?
Yeah. If you guys have any suggestions for anything you would like to hear as well from guests, then let us know. And you can find us on LinkedIn and our social medias, which will be linking to the post for this podcast.
We have some great episodes and guests already lined up for you guys, and we're super excited to share those interviews with you every week. So keep a lookout on the platforms which we'll be sharing. Especially our Instagram, we kind of be updating what when we'll
Hmm.
be posting and everything. So keep a lookout, and it was great talking to you guys.
Yeah. I hope this podcast helps you guys. So, we'll keep on bringing out content for you guys. All right.
Thank you for listening, and have a good day.
Bye bye.